So the future of learning is about change, and it's about an agility to move with change. So our practices have been quite established for many years, and we've known the landscape of where learning and development has been. But now, because of organisational change and business change, we need to have an agility to move towards some different emphasis. So here's a few of the things that we need to be mindful of. Firstly, business alignment is crucial, that we need to make sure everything we're doing will affect the effectiveness of the organisation and the bottom line. And to do that effectively, we need to have a much better grasp of analytics. So sometimes we've had a little bit of data, sometimes we've done some low-level evaluation. That isn't going to be sufficient in the future of learning. The future of learning is going to require us to understand what data exists in the organisation and how that data will inform our learning solutions. And it's about using data effectively to influence our learning design. And then that moves into a whole new range of learning design skills that we need to have. So things like bite-sized learning, most organisations are really recognising that this feasting model that we've had, where we send people on a whole day's course for 7 hours and we stuff them full of content, that's not the most effective way to learn. So neuroscience, which we need to take into account, is now backing up that bite-sized learning is really important. People learn most effectively when they can emotionally engage with a small piece of learning content. So alongside things like neuroscience and analytics, so neuroscience is doing some great stuff. We're now understanding that emotional engagement is really important for learning, and these are things that we've known for years, but now there's some science behind that. Learning in the flow is part of the future of learning. So rather than sending people away on programs to stay in hotels overnight, it's about delivering content to people in the context of their job and their work. And you can access things when you want. So it should be no surprise, or perhaps it is a surprise, that about 70% of people use Google as their first port of call when they have a learning need. So we need to get into the flow of providing learning where and when people need it. So we've mentioned a little bit about curation. It is about not having to create things from scratch. So the future of learning is going to be harnessing lots of great learning which is around and being, as Jane Hart calls it, a learning concierge. So in a hotel, if I want to know where to get a great curry, the concierge can point me in the right direction. So learning is about being a concierge and directing learners. Digital is going to be really important. So I've come from a very face-to-face model of learning where we've had traditional classroom. But again, most people are now learning on their tablets at home. And we have a real mismatch between how people learn in their own homes and the workplace. And we need to make sure that that's a common practice now. So delivering digital learning via tablets, via websites, via e-learning, as the consortium does, is going to be really important for us. And I think as well, another key in the future of learning is we have to start really measuring the value of our learning on the organisation. So often we've measured volume, how many people have been on training days, or how many events we've run in a year. And that doesn't necessarily encapsulate how brilliant our learning is. So we need to move to a model where we don't measure the volume, but we measure the value. And that takes a little bit more thinking. And the only way to do that is actually to design that right at the beginning of the whole learning design process. So the future of learning is about change. We as learning professionals sometimes are the worst at change because we don't invest in our own careers. So it's a really good time to undertake professional development to make sure that we're ready to move into a whole new world where learning is going to be faster, it's going to be digital, it's going to be curated, it's going to be backed by metrics, it's going to have neuroscience underpinning it, and it's going to be measuring real value. And that's an exciting future for me.